And as you can see, we can speak live to former England captain Nasser Hussain. Nasser, it's always good to talk to you, but how I wish I wasn't talking to you in these circumstances. What is your reaction to what happened overnight?
Well, we all stayed up, or most of us stayed up, and it always happens at Brisbane, whether it be me with the toss or Harmison with the wide to second slip, or Rory Burns on this occasion, first ball from Stark. What a dramatic start it was. And 147 all out. Absolutely perfect for Australia. The perfect day. Even with the rain at the end there, they wouldn't have wanted to go out and bat for half an hour. And with a new captain in Pat Cummins, getting five for getting the England captain out for a duck, it couldn't have gone any better for Australia.
How impressed were you with Cummins and how that's working as well? Because obviously it's not the norm for a pace bowler to captain a test side. We know the complications that it comes with that, but it seems like he started just about as well as he could have done with a fifer.
Yeah, he did very well. I thought he rotated his bowl as well. He rotated himself well. He knew that Joe Root has struggled against his bowling over the years, so as soon as Root came in, Cummins took Stark out the attack and bowled. Got all his bowlers on before lunch, gave them all a go to introduce them into the test series, into the test match. Got his fields right. The catching from Australia was outstanding. I think the best thing he did was losing that toss, actually, because both captains were going to bat. Root did bat, and in the end, it proved a good toss to lose.
Yeah. Seeing as you yourself have mentioned it a few times, Nass, I'm going to have to ask you about the toss. We know what happened in 2002 and just how tricky it is at the Gabba to know what to do. Can you just give me and our audience a sense of what it's like when you're in the middle, making those decisions and then having to live with them either way?
I thought it was a harder one for Joe Root today, actually. I mean, my one in 2002 was just a diabolical decision. I think they'd had a drought in Brisbane for 6 months, and I suddenly found a bit of moisture in the pitch, had a bowl, and they were 400 for 2 at the end of day one or whatever. So today, it was a green pitch. It has been raining, but history tells you at Brisbane that it does a little bit more. It gets a bit quicker into day two. And as a captain, you look down and everyone's focusing on what the pitch is on the first morning. But as a captain, you've also got to think, what will that pitch look like on day 3, day 4, day 5 in the humidity, the cracks at Brisbane, it gets a bit quicker. So you have to think ahead as well. Obviously, 147 all out tells you that it was the wrong decision. And the way it played, it did seam around and it did bounce. There was a bit of tennis ball bounce there. I just think sometimes you confuse it all. You turn up, I did it, you look down at a pitch, it's green, it's rained. What is your strongest suit? I would say anyone that's watched England over the last 3 or 4 years, bowling is their strongest suit. What is Australia's weaker suit? That is their batting. They've got a very fine bowling attack. So sometimes you just complicate it. Sometimes just forget the stats, forget everything. Just look down at what's in front of you and try and make a decision.
Yeah. Now, hindsight is a wonderful thing. We're going to talk team selection now, though, Nass, because 2 big decisions and many, even before the squad selection, saying that Jimmy Anderson would have actually suited these conditions. What do you make of that before we get on to Stuart Broad?
Well, I mean, it's both related, really. I would rotate Broad and Anderson throughout the series. You need a balanced attack, not only to bowl a side out in the first innings, but as I've said, as it gets flatter, and then in the second innings, as it gets uneven, you might need a bit of pace, you'll need a bit of spin. So you need a balanced attack in Australia. The one-dimensional attack you have in England with Wokes, Robinson, Broad, Anderson won't always work in Australia. It would have worked today, definitely. That would have been the ideal attack. So you need a balanced attack. I would have rotated Broad and Anderson. I wasn't that fussed about which one they picked here for this first test. I'd have picked one of them. If not Anderson, then Broad's record against Warner in that last Ashes series, just to set the tone. I've had Broad against Warner. But the problem with 2 ageing seamers and no cricket and no preparation, and those 2 seamers having now a recent history of injuries, Broad in particular coming back from an injury, when you have not much cricket under your belt and a heavy Brisbane outfield, they were doubtful to get through back-to-back test matches. And with a day-nighter in Adelaide coming up, it looks like they're saving them for that game. But I repeat, I would have had one out of Broad and Anderson in this game. Yeah.
Now, it's probably not fair to talk about the bowlers when they haven't had a chance yet. So let's talk about the batsmen, because they most certainly have had a chance, and it didn't go well. Nasser, right from the off, first ball of the series, unfortunately setting the tone of what was to come. It's probably too simplistic a question to say, what did you make of the batting performance? But exactly what went wrong, do you think?
Well, just individual errors. The first one, Rory Burns, was just under pressure, really. You know, he's been out, 6 times for a duck in Test match cricket, which tends to suggest he's a nervy starter. First ball of the Ashes. When you're nervous, your worst technical failing gets exaggerated. And Rory Burns' worst technical failing is that his front foot goes across to the offside a little bit too much. And if you freeze it on when Stark delivered that ball, his foot was way across. And Stark had set him up. They'd done their prep. They knew full and straight to Burns up front. Other seamers up front have done that against him. So that was a nervous start from Rory Burns' technical. And then Milan, when you're playing in Australia, Milan will know that you can leave balls on length. It bounces high at Brisbane. It bounces high in Australia. And anything back of a length, you can leave. So both Milan and Stokes, to a degree, could have left those balls. The biggest wicket for me was Joe Root. Not just because he's England's best player, not because he had an impact on today, but the impact throughout the series. You know, Root has had a difficult Ashes series of late, and he struggled against Hazlewood, who's now got him out 8 times, and he struggled against Cummins. So he would have wanted a good start to put to bed all the demons of Cummins and Hazlewood, and to get out for a duck against Hazlewood up front just starts those mind games against those two. You can, every time Root goes into bat, either Cummins or Hazlewood will be bowling.
Yeah. Now, we've all got some long nights ahead of us, Nass. From your opinion, is it worth getting up for the days, for the rest of this Test series, or this Test match, I should say? Let's not be too pessimistic. But basically what I'm saying is, do England have any chance from here? I mean, it's not a disastrous total. It's at 147 on the board. Is there any chance they can get a result?
They may need a couple of days' rain, but also just remember that the Australian batting lineup is fragile as well. They have 2 world-class players in Labuschagne and Smith. They have a few players coming back into the side. Warner's under a bit of pressure. The pitch will still do a bit tomorrow. They haven't had that much cricket on it, and there's some rain tonight. And Robinson and Wokes in these conditions will be a handful. England will have to catch well. 147 all out, you're chasing the game. You better catch well, something they haven't done well of late. So obviously not an ideal start. Brisbane all over again. But you know, you just got to hope, really. England have got a decent bowling attack, and Australia have vulnerabilities with the bat.